podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
3 games left in the URC. 4 points separates first to third, and another 4 points separates fourth to ninth. And all of the teams who we had previously assumed were good did in fact lose this weekend. So to try and pick through all the bones of all of it, let's start the show. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the URC Rewind. I am joined by the full panel this evening of Irish Adam, Scottish Ethan, and South African Mohammed.
Hello.
Good evening.
For the purposes of this podcast, I am Welsh Hugh. Full disclosure, all of our personal teams lost this week. So we are all in quite bad moods and would really rather not talk about the rugby. Unfortunately, producer Lee has us contractually obliged to do so. So in terms of who wants to feel the pain the most first, I think there's only one place to start, and it is in Belfast. Sorry, Adam. It is Ulster against Leinster. It's the hope that kills you.
I would call it hope. Maybe it's just a little bit of just like hope, a little bit of hope and a little bit of craziness. I must preface in saying this that Leinster played a really, really good game.
Leinster were very good.
I thought Leinster were brilliant. I thought they did their homework really well, which, to be fair, for a Leo Cullen team, that is probably, the littlest amount of compliment I can give them. From the get-go, Leinster were covering all of our passing channels. It really worried me as an Ulster fan how easy they cut them out. They really covered up Jack Murphy well, and then they just shut down every time Stuart McCluskey got the ball. And it really worried me, the fact that was their only 2 things that we'd go to, and then sort of panic. But the game started from an Ulster perspective within the 7th minute. We had Angus Bell go down injured, quite badly injured as well. I would say he came out. He rocked up in a moon boot afterwards. He came off, carted off the pitch, and then James Hume within the next 30 seconds came off with a shoulder injury. That's when I started to think things are going to go wrong. And Leinster really started to punish us. Sam Prendergast, I will hold my hands up and say, played an exceptional game at 10. He was controlling the game so well, to the point where every single time we tried to relieve pressure by kicking it out of our 22, Sam Prendergast would do some outrageously stupid kick and get it back into our 22, and it'll just be the same reset. Jimmy O'Brien had had a really good game as well. I thought that he was playing exceptionally well as well. There was a couple of times where I thought that, especially in that first half, that Leinster were utterly dominant. I think it was something stupid like 60% possession was to them. In that first half, they were just like peppering us in that.
Were you nilled at half time?
We were nilled at halftime, yeah. We were nilled at halftime, and that's when they started really turning on the screw. Jimmy O'Brien's try was really well taken. And right after that, Robbie Henshaw's as well. I feel like it was one of those games where when I was watching it, of course it's our rivals. We don't really like to lose interpros, but this is the second interpro we've lost at Ravenhill this year as well. The other one being Connacht. Quite worrying. But as I say, my flowers go to Leinster. I think the yellow card turning to a red card was the right decision. Max Deegan did really show off dangerous there. I'm not going to go into ref chat because I'm going to leave that to the Interpro show, where I'm just going to have my head in my hands and possibly not do a Matt Hansen.
I thought that. Who was it now? Ian Henderson. I thought Ian Henderson was going to do a full Matt Hansen afterwards.
So I'll get into a little bit of it. My frustrations lie with one rule for one and one rule for the other. There was a moment where I must say as well, Luke McGrath had an exceptional game as well, and fair play to him in that sense as well. I thought he ran the tempo for Leinster really, really well. James Coleraine as well. Really, I think he's a really good talent at 8. Scott Penny was really good at his chop tackles every single time it went to a Jacob Stockdale or a Juan Augustus or a Stuart McCloskey. Scott Penny just absolutely chopped them down at the ankles. Fair play. Um, Back onto Andrew Brace chop. Leinster were caught offside. Well, I counted a few times. They also were playing the 9, but the one time that we tried it, and Ian Henderson went over to the referee and went, "They've been getting away with it all this day." It was like, "No, but I see that as being fair." And I was just like, it was just the way he
There's
was
also some very
explaining
Leinster rucking. It's an
very,
art though with Leinster. Their rucking is an
yeah,
art. It is kind of a like because you're looking at it and you're going, he's definitely done something wrong, but I don't know what.
yeah,
Like it
and that's
feels wrong. It just feels wrong.
it's on like that sort of level of the All Blacks, how they were always caught, like Richie McCaw was always caught offside, but he was never caught offside. That dark arts. Leinster were the kings of the dark arts that day. There was a moment, I think, in the first 10 minutes where Ulster had a maul and James Ryan was complaining about us taking it down. And I was just like, in what world is James Ryan complaining about taking down a maul? I was just like, that's when I started to feel like, oh no, this is going to go bad. Then the red card happened, the yellow into a red. I think the bunker review, I think it was the right call. Just to double check if it definitely was a red, which it was. That's when we started to play fun rugby, and the wards decided to like, we're gonna get a few
And
punches
we talk
in.
about it every week, but Bryn Ward is bloody good at rugby.
He's exceptional at rugby. He's much bigger than Henry Pollock. It's like it's nice to find a Henry Pollock oh God, some slip there. A Henry Pollock mold in a player in your own academy. I thought Bryn Ward was really good when he came on. He was really lively. Zach Ward's first try when David McCann showed some afterburners as well was really good. I thought, that 65th minute one really gave me hope. The commentators were writing us off, and I just thought, we want a little bit more, but at the end we left with nothing. We left with no bonus points at all.
Oh no.
Um, so it's an interesting one. I think Leinster played exceptionally well. I don't. I even think when they had the yellow into the red. I guess I know that they conceded 3 tries, but I don't think they were ever looking like losing it. Um, it was one of those where I just have to hold my hands up and go like, as annoying Leinster are, they are still a very good team, and mainly it's more jealousy than anything else. So,
Ah, they'll love that. They'll love that. But
they will love that, but it's the only time they're ever going to hear it off me.
they did. I was arguably Leinster's best performance of the season.
Yep.
I was very impressed with them, and I was quite. I wanted Ulster to win, and there's no point lying. But they were very, very good. And yeah, it's the kind of performance that makes you go, "Uh oh,"
Yeah.
like the here we go. And you will come on to the table predictions at the end of the show, but there, yeah, it's worrying when Leinster get into that
It's
kind of a mood.
it's worrying when you look at that team and think that's not even Leinster's full strength team. That was Ulster's full strength team. That wasn't Leinster's full strength team. Jerry Cahill played an amazing game at Loosehead, to be fair to him. But then at one point, I think it was 60 minutes in, our replacement prop, Scotty Wilson, who came off for a replacement, no, who came off for an injured Tom O'Toole, got injured himself and was playing with one leg for the rest of the game. And I would almost be like, we might as well go down to 14 men and take uncontested scrums because he's probably going to do more damage than he did, actually getting injured. He did throw a really nice offload, but he had one leg, so it's just like, at what cost?
Something
But
I noticed a lot was Nathan Doak was clearing out a lot of rucks.
he, I think he was really frustrated with how much Leinster were they were so quick on that ball. They were so quick around that ruck that Nathan Doak had to go into the rucks. He was normally the first one to the rucks and he was just hitting everything. That was something that I noticed as well, but I thought that Leinster's ruck speed was really bad. And as we say, it's a bit of dark magic. There's something illegal there, but we don't know, and I'm not sure if the ref knows either. Ian Henderson certainly struggled to sort of pick together what was happening, but I feel like Leinster played their game, and it worries me because teams could replicate that now. Glasgow and Stormers could replicate that very easily against us. It's quite a worrying trend to see how easy we were torn apart. And we are quite a nice attacking team. We scored some nice attacking tries, but then Leinster scored some nice attacking tries too. Like Robbie Henshaw scored from a break in 2026. Do you know what I mean? Like there's like still like little things like that where I'm thinking, this Leinster are fitting quite a nice form right now. They're looking like a well-oiled machine, and this isn't even their first team. So it's brilliant for a Leinster fan, but it's worrying for everyone else in the URC.
100%. 100%. So that's game one. From one game with two Irish teams in it to a game with none. Fidelity secure drive against Glasgow. Wow. Full Lions. Mohammed, they went full Lions.
I'm really impressed by this performance. Going into the game, when we did the Friday night bit of an animal show, I had all four teams, South African teams, slight favorites. I know that Glasgow sort of brought a rotated team. I thought they would put up a bit more of a fight and maybe even like score some points. I thought at the very least, I thought Glasgow would get a losing bonus point for four tries, or like within maybe even two losing bonus points for also within four tries and within seven. But damn, the Lions put in their best performance I've seen in a while, not just this season. Very professional. Yes, they did do Lions things like throw the ball around, but the Glasgow team. Massive rotation. Yes, they did win the URC like 2 seasons ago, 50 kilometers northwest of this location in Pretoria, but this is not the same team. They seemed a little sort of jet
Some of the
lagged.
players don't even have pictures.
Yeah,
Dylan
that's how
Cockburn
much.
and Ryan Burke don't exist according to the URC website.
Yeah, it's a very inappropriate name, by the way. But yeah, even with Sione Tuipulotu on the bench, I think we need to like focus on the fact that um, uh, Lions have struggled a lot. The Lions have not been good. They've not made the playoffs in the last 4 seasons of the URC of URC existing, but they've had consistency this season. They've used the Currie Cup prior to this to like build a bit of depth and maybe structures. Yes, they've like had some bolters in the team, like Siba Mahashe, who's at like the season of his life. He was a baby bok, but he didn't. A lot of baby boks moved directly from playing for the baby box into like a URC team or at least into their second team, but Sibamashi sort of disappeared for a bit. Um, yeah, look, you have to give credit. And then Chris William-Smith, somebody I thought played really well at the Bulls as maybe sort of like a Dan Lancaster type player in terms of like maybe a good number two. So I was super surprised that he left the Bulls to play one season in France. He came back to South Africa at the first chance he could get. So if you played for the Bulls and you get a chance to come back to South Africa, you like playing for the Lions, which is it's in the same province. So it's like you can adapt very quickly, maybe even
Transvaal.
move. Yeah, exactly. Transvaal just means across it just means across the Vaal, whatever. So I mean, I rated Chris William Smith. I would have been keen for him to come back to the Sharks, to be honest, to play for the Sharks because of how consistent he is and how underrated I feel he is. And he had a really good game. Richard Kriel actually deputized at inside center because Bronson Mills, like another breakout young player that the Lions have, um, he wasn't able to play. Henko van Wyk deservedly got man of the match. Overall, like the only time Glasgow were in the game here and there were for me when the Lions got a bit loose and the Lions actually won a penalty. Lions got a ton of jackal turnovers in the first half, by the way. So the Lions got another one, and then they gave the ball to Koen Horn because he's left-footed to kick like really far because the ball was on the left side. But then he didn't. He
Bloody
tied for too
underrated player,
much.
Quan Horn.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's got some Springbok caps and he's played well there. And then what was interesting with Kunon is he played a couple of one or two test matches, and then he was obviously in the training squad for a long time. And as soon as he came back, this happens a lot with South African players. If they spend time in the Springbok camp, when they come back, all of a sudden they're like slightly higher level. So Kunon missed touch there, and then Glasgow were able to like score a try through a turnover. I was stoked at the end of this game when the Lions won and they denied Glasgow both any points in this game, and the Lions got 5 points. This was supposed to be like like the Lions doing the Stormers a favor, but the Stormers didn't do themselves a favor. We'll get to that later in the game, but yeah, all credit to the Lions.
Yeah. Ethan. Oh well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was looking at the stats there, and like that did not seem like we had 68% possession. Like I don't know if they got the colours wrong. I was
That
like,
explains why you're so knackered at the end of the game. Like when
yeah.
Quan Horn basically walked 50 meters to the try line, and the Glasgow's guys were like, I can't even jog after him.
No, it was. I mean, again, it was one of those. Yeah, fair play to the Lions. The Lions are. I don't mind losing to the Lions because at least they make it fun to watch. And you're kind of like, yeah, they aren't that. Yeah. Um. No, it was as soon. I think it was within the first few minutes. You could see how the Lions were working the Glasgow line, and you're like, oh shit, this is gonna be a problem later on, isn't it? And oh boy, was that a problem.
Well, you got battered by the Lions the year you won the league, didn't you?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
oh
I mean,
well.
Oh, that's a good sign.
yeah, that's kind of what I expect though from last week. Is like I'm not expecting a. I thought Glasgow probably should have got a losing the fourth try bonus points because like especially that the last like minute how they blew that they could have arguably got a try there. And
Yeah.
then there's one of the Lions tries came from Glasgow. They spent ages in the Lions 22 meters, working hard, gradually working. And I think it was either Watson or Hugh Jones. I can't tell who it was. They were on the ground, so they'd been tackled, and they tried to like throw the ball up to somebody trying to run to it, but then the Lions caught it, and then they just ran the whole pitch. And you're kind of like, oh well, that was a missed opportunity there. Um,
It's just
yeah,
even the commentary that I was watching, which was South African commentary, which presumably wanted the Lions to win. I think it was for the Quan Horn try. They were like, "Oh no, the Lions have got it again, and he's gone around. He's got one man to beat. Oh, he's beaten him! Oh, for God's sake!" Like even the South African fan was a bit. The commentator was a bit gutted for Glasgow that they didn't get the fourth try.
yeah, I think Glasgow. I was not expecting a win, but I think they should have been much better. That, it should have been what was it, 52 in the end? Maybe 52, like 24. Just,
Yeah.
I'm still expecting like it's still a wide margin, but for such a young team though, it was kind of because you had that was Jack Oliver's first start at scrum half, which I think is a bit of a hard place to put him there for his first start. And then you had Fergus Watson on the wing and Ryan Burke and Dylan Cockburn,
Yes.
who are both, they've not even got pro contracts yet. They're still academy. And I think it's fair play to them for going, ironically, to the Lions Den and giving it a go. That it's just a shame it didn't, they're not going to look back on these games.
I think
Um,
I think one aspect about the Lions as well is that they don't just have a good match 15. They've actually got a good
mm,
team in general. And there's a couple of guys who didn't make this match 22 who could also make an impact, like Bronson
mm,
Mills and so on and so forth. So they've built the right type of depth. And you need a degree of luck in terms of like maybe just momentum, but also uh a break in terms of like not getting injuries at this time. So yeah, I'm really pleased with them. I picked them in sort of the prediction episode when I didn't do much research. I was just watching Curry Cup, and you said, "Oh, because the Lions are beating Boland, do you think they're going to make the top 8?" And I was like, "Yeah, kind of." And yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad that things have
Uh,
panned out because I mean, look, um, Kyle Steyn probably had the most family there watching him play as well because
yeah.
he's playing in his hometown.
he is from Joburg, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Oh well, I think it's one of those you just have to enjoy it. We'll come on to kind of table predictions at the end of the show, talking about how we see the running going and stuff. But I think Lions just enjoy it while you can. It would be my advice. Anyway, before we go to the break, I'm just going to get this shit out of the way. Scarlets versus Cardiff. Uh, you're welcome. I think the call came on down when we were bashing them with 10 minutes to go. It came on down and said, you know that these are the only Welsh team in with the chance of the playoffs, by the way, lads. Throw the game, throw the game. The WRU red phone was ringing, I think, somewhere in the ground. Boys back. Like I put in the Scarlets pod group chat with 10 minutes ago. I was like, there's still time for us to fuck this up, and we did. Like, look at the the timestamps for the for the Cardiff tries: 71 minutes, 76 minutes, 79 minutes. We went down to 13 men against Cardiff again for like the second time in 3 games. And Tame Plumtree's managed to get yellow carded whilst not actually on the pitch. Jack Price didn't get yellow carded. That's wrong. It was Tame Plumtree. And then Blair Murray gets yellow carded. Like, it's been a thing with the Scarlets of like no Sam Costello, no Josh McLeod, no Party. And we did Party for a little bit, but I can't be bothered to look it up now because it's on a different website. But like the number of opportunities we had in their 22 and just completely balls it up every single time just drove me mad. Absolutely mad. We're obviously the opposite of clinical is. We're that. Oh, my goodness me. Tom Judas Rogers played well, the bastard. He was probably our best player. Cardiff, well done. You stuck in it. Great character. Yeah. Archie Hughes on the wing to finish off. Joe Roberts, too good to be wearing the 23 jersey at the Scarlets. He should be first choice at a very good team somewhere. It's not the highest quality game of rugby that you're ever going to see, lads. If you haven't watched it, I wouldn't advise going back and watching the full 80. The first half was a shambles with very little of what you could actually call rugby occurring in it. And then in the third quarter, Cardiff completely capitulated and could not catch a line out. Let's see if we can find the line out stats. Here we go. Line outs lost 8. Cardiff lost 8 lineouts. Lineout success 47%. That's really, really bad. Like the average at test level is 88%. Like half of what good is what Cardiff did in this game. So they capitulated for 30 minutes at the beginning of the second half, and then we capitulated for the last 10, and we capitulated harder. So when you think about it, we won. Yeah, so Cardiff, bonus point win, still on course for top 8. You're welcome. Got to beat the Ospreys next week. We'll talk about that later. Scarlets, it's on the players. It's the players' fault. They messed it up, and it made me angry. Any questions?
I mean, I saw an article talking about it as a Scotland star scoring, was it 2 late tries to earn the win for Cardiff. I'm like,
Yeah, Van
Javan
Sebastian,
Sebastian, Scotland star.
Yeah, he's started his career at the Scarlets, went to Edinburgh, got cut for Scotland, and is now back at Cardiff. So he's
It's a road less travelled.
yeah. He's up and down the motorway. Up and down the motorway, I think it's best to describe him. Anyway, in our new kind of version of this show where we do try to go on at a fair lick, I just want to remind people that if you are enjoying what you're listening/watching so far, please consider subscribing to the Global Gain Line on YouTube as I share the screen to show you what it looks like. This is one of the most diverse rugby channels, in fact, the most diverse rugby podcast channel that you will find anywhere in the world. There are weekly shows on South African rugby, Women's Rugby Six Nations, and Pac 4. There's a USA rugby show, there's a French show, there's an Irish show. Of course, while the Women's Six Nations is on, we'll be talking about all of those things. I've probably forgotten one. There's that many shows. There's a bit of rugby from a bit of everywhere. And if that sounds like a bit of you, please consider subscribing. Right. What should we talk about next? What do you want to talk about? Shouts, somebody.
Should we talk about Connacht?
Okay. Oh, yes. Yes, that's a good one, actually. Sorry, I forgot who it was that they beat. Okay, yeah, Adam. Yeah, because the winner talks first. What did you make of this match?
I thought it was one of those games where I sit back and I'm like, right, what am I expecting from this game? I had I had the Super Rugby on the TV, I had this one on my laptop, and I had Western Force beating the Crusaders on one screen and Connacht beating Stormers on the other.
A Super Rugby game kicking off at 1 o'clock in the afternoon is weird.
It was bizarre, but I thought this game, at the start of the season, I made a prediction that Stuart Lancaster is going to make this team look very clinical. And I almost, I would say that, you know, Connacht going behind by, I think it was 2 tries. Connacht went behind by two tries in the second half, and I think it was Sasha Feinberg and Mngozulu scored, and that's when I thought, right, okay, where's the comeback from this? It's Stormers away. How can they get a foothold in it? And then Connacht just started playing really, really nice rugby. They played some exceptional rugby. I thought that Sam Gilbert kicking all of his kicks, like of course, in a game of rugby, kicking all your kicks is vital. And I feel like for an Irish team at the minute, I think so many of our kickers have been getting it so confused and making it go wrong. But Sam Gilbert did miss one, but I thought the it was the John Devine try. That's when it was right after the Feinberg and Gozulu try. That's when I started to sit up a bit and went, right, okay, this is when Connor are going to take it really, like, really well now. And then the Ben Murphy try was unbelievable. I'm not sure if you have seen this, but it was Shane Bolton chipping it over the top, right in the middle of I think it was about five Stormers backs. We're all trying to run towards it. Bounced so perfectly for Shane Bolton, and Ben Murphy hit such a nice line to score for them. And then I was thinking, right, okay, 2 points in it. Stormers could come back here. Then I'm not sure who it was flung the pass, but it was a very like topsy-turvy, like it just was sort of flung. It wasn't even passed, it was flung. Sean Nocton then, with balls of steel, ran through, caught the ball, intercepted, ran under the post, scored to win in probably, I'd say, Connacht's best win under Lancaster so far.
Yeah.
This is a Connacht team that have beaten Ulster and Belfast and now Stormers away. This is a Connacht team that really struggled at the start, but are now developing this like really big
Well,
identity now.
it's funny what hindsight does to you because I was looking at Connacht's results. And if you look back at the start of the season, even though they were losing games, they weren't losing games by much. They were losing tight games.
It was almost like it was Lancaster just implying like, this is the game plan that he wants to play. You know, Connacht do have a array of players that are going to be Ireland internationals in the future. Billy Bowen, for example, at loosehead prop, going to be an Ireland international. Sam Elo, going to be an Ireland international. Tight head prop. You've got loads of players like Cian Prendergast as well. He came off just looking wrecked, but he gave everything to that game. I think this Connacht team, John Devine, also as well, another player that I want to shout out, played exceptionally well. He took his try really well, and he was also commanding the game really well from 13. This is a Stormers team with a lot of Springboks. You've got Sasha Feinberg and Gonzulu, who's probably one of the best tens in the world, getting shown up by Connacht. Like Stuart Lancaster's making this team really dangerous, and that push for top eight has just gotten way better because as we sort of like, I think every rugby podcast sort of wrote them off beforehand and thought that this South African tour, a win is not achievable, but a couple of points would do. After this performance, a bonus point in South Africa, five tries.
I,
It was exceptional from Connacht.
I've just noticed something on this Sasha kick. This Connacht player here, like shouts at the ball as it goes over him. Watch. That's weird. He just kind of tries to
It's
tell it
like
not to go over.
man shouts at cloud, to
Yeah.
quote The Simpsons. But
But yeah, I might be sorry to Stuart Lancaster. I was very, very critical of him, and I really went in when they were like winning no games, and he's turned it around. So there you go. He was right and I was wrong. Mohammed, blip, or is this an overdue result to the Stormers?
Overdue result. It's almost like the other side of the coin of the Stuart Lancaster thing. I mean, I was relatively optimistic about his impact prior to the start of the season. But yeah, the Dobson thing, I'm not by any means calling for John Dobson to lose his job. However, there are some serious questions to be asked. You can start the season on a house on fire, and yes, some fortunate wins, and you need a bit of luck here and there. But to be in this position, there was no panic really from me when they lost to the Lions in the URC 5 weeks ago. Then they went on to the three-match winning streak. They lost to Toulon on the Mediterranean Sea. Beautiful game. Unfortunate, yes, all those permutations, but they were still in the URC. And like the annoying part for me as a South African rugby supporter whose team is not anywhere near winning anything is that the Stormers are on paper and in terms of the log the best placed South African team. And we'll get onto the Bulls later, who I feel maybe are the best South African team right now. But there, there's so many, like I personally tend to err on the side of I'll give the coaching staff the benefit of the doubt. They know much more than me. They're on the pitch, so on and so forth, right? But it's getting a bit and Stormer supporters are quick to like one or two losses, like lose their minds. So I tend to ignore that on different social platforms. But right now is a time for like reflection and some really critical analysis. Because I mean, like they on this podcast, you in particular, you have been saying like we're not overly impressed by the attacking structure and that type of thing, and that might come back to haunt them in the playoffs. And we're not even in the playoffs yet. We're still in the round robin. And yes, they were favorites for this game, and Connacht maybe somewhat underrated and that type of thing. I mean, I watched Connacht play there last season, almost the exact same time of the year, with a different coaching staff, and they weren't this cohesive. So yes, you should give Connacht credit, but I still feel like to be beaten by Connacht at Cape Town Stadium in Connacht weather, by the way, the Galway weather came with Connacht, which is very annoying for me who likes to wear shorts and stuff. Um, and not even get any points. You let Connacht get 5 points, you get no points. We're like everybody in South Africa is rooting for the Stormers to like top the log, but like this type of performance, and then obviously the there's critique of certain players who are not so much in the limelight. Like I've measured my critique of Warwick Gelant because sometimes that can be hyperbole, almost Harry Maguire type, but like he was bad in this game. And I blame him and the coaching staff because I mean, if he was this out of form, you're consistently playing him. You have other options at fullback, including Damien Willemse.
Damien Willemse. Does
Yes.
anybody outside of the Stormers coaching box, those four seats sat next to each other, does anybody outside of those four men think that Damien Willemse on the wing makes sense? What?
Did they?
He's like the best fullback in the world.
Yeah, look,
What are we doing?
I personally really like him at 12 at inside center, but like play him at fullback, Gelant is way out of form. Like
We got
drop Gelant
Silani on the bench.
Yeah, I got
Put
some
him
Lani's
in.
more of an outside center, but he can play fullback. He played fullback at the start of the season, played relatively well. So there's that annoyance. There's less critique of Sasha Feinberg and Gomezulu within the South African circles and Cobus Reinach because they are the golden guys and they played really, we've watched them over the last 12 months play really well at test level for the Springboks, but they're not firing for with the Stormers. So the question is that them? Is that the fact that the South African players never have any time off besides Six Nations, or is that the coaching staff at the Stormers? One aspect is that they have a attack coach slash backline coach in Davi Theron. Uh, like like Dobson, if you're the head coach and you see this happening, maybe that's your mate, maybe that's your friend, but you've got to be strong enough to say we're going to try something different. And when I put it out on social media for the Stormers supporters to say, look, what would you want as a solution? They all came with short-term solutions and saying like, get the Springbok backline coach, the New Zealand guy, get him to coach. So I was like, okay, cool, that's a short-term solution. but like, what are we doing long-term? What about next season? What about the rest of the season? So it annoys me. Next week it's Glasgow and it's a rotated Glasgow team. Maybe Kyle Steyn will actually play or whatever. So I do still think Stormers might be slight favorites for that, but they got a pull finger right now.
Yes. I completely agree with everything you said. It's been coming. The performances have been poor for a while. Let's not undersell that in the URC. Okay, put the Champions Cup aside for a second. They've had a favourable run of fixtures, and they've not been performing against lower league opposition. And they've played another mid-table side and got rolled over at home. If you're in the championship conversation, if you're in the conversation for winning the URC, so you're up there with the UBBs and the Leinsters and the Hurricanes of the world. That's what we're judging you against. Hence the criticism. So I'll leave it there because I'll just be repeating myself otherwise. Anyway, I got another fun game of rugby to talk about. Edinburgh versus Zebras. Ethan, talk to me. I really thought that Zebra might get this.
Yeah, I was also expecting Zebra to probably run away with it, but Ashman is kind of the break glass button for Edinburgh that he just managed to get 2 tries out of nowhere to keep them in the game, and then Bone Fenter just runs under the post at the very last second. But yeah, I don't really know what to make of this game, Fred. But I feel like it's kind of a good game for them to try and get their groove back in a sense that, oh, we've spoken about before, Edinburgh's season has been horrible. Even if they were to get 5 points from each match, it's not a guarantee they'll even make top eight. So they're trying to make everything that they were the best of what they can do at the moment. But yeah, I thought Hector Patterson, so that was his debut. Again, his debut, and they put him starting, and I thought he looked brilliant for Edinburgh. Um, the sort of quite a George Horn type scrum half that you could see him with the energy trying to do things fast. And the fact those are two things that Edinburgh needs. Edinburgh needs someone to get everyone moving, but also quick ball. Because Edinburgh can't do anything in general, but at least give them quick ball to try and do something.
Yeah,
Um,
it's tough on Zebras because they won 5 games in the league last season, and they're only on 2, and they've
yeah.
got a trip to South Africa coming up, so you don't see them winning another one. But
Uh,
it would have been nice to see them win this one. Sorry, Edinburgh.
yeah. I mean, the other game they won, well, one of the games that they did win was against Edinburgh at the very start.
All
And
right.
again, I think it was the exact same margin that they won by 1 point. And that was from a drop goal at the end. Or it was either a drop goal or a penalty. And it's a bit, yeah, it's a bit of a weird one for 2 games being exactly like that. But
Very low kicks, 16 to 11. That's not very many kicks.
no, I'm just
So
trying to
Zebra kicked
remember.
the ball
I
11 times
felt
and retained 4. That's a weird stat.
Yeah, there was one try, I can't remember which one it was, that it was an insane take for them to, because they caught it like the ball was literally behind the head when it was a high ball, and I don't know how they managed to beat Satala to the ball, but it's just kind of like, yeah, fair play. I've never seen that before. I think it was the Zebra's third try. But it was like 30 seconds before they actually scored, so it probably won't be in any of the highlights, unfortunately. But yeah, I feel if you're, I mean, being a Zebra supporter and you're still here is incredible given what Zebra's like. But I think Zebra should be a bit frustrated that they should have won that.
Yeah. Well, they got in a position to win it, didn't it? Obviously, there was a lot of rugby happening on all at the same time whilst this game was being played,
Mhm.
and then I just kind of saw the scores, like, ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
And then I guess it is interesting, really, at the end of the day. But um, it's just a shame. But Edinburgh got some new coaches coming aboard for next year. They've
Yeah.
announced the signing of that Kiwi lad. Maybe things will change.
I mean, do you think he's got his Scotland teams mixed up? And he's like, oh yeah, wait, Edinburgh? What?
There's 2 Scottish teams.
Yeah.
Like,
Because there's the fact that Sean Everett was in his interview was saying, he's basically sacrificed a chance playing for the All Blacks to come play in Edinburgh. And you're like, yes, Sean, he sacrificed a chance to play for the All
yes,
Blacks
he
to come
chose
here.
Edinburgh over the All Blacks, Sean. Yes.
You could read that as 2 ways of either Sean, don't fuck this up, or 2, what is wrong with this boy?
No, apparently he is. Speaking to some mates who follow Super Rugby, apparently he is highly rated, and they do expect him to go on and play for Scotland. But Scottish granny, from
Yeah.
Ayrshire, apparently. But yeah, it's a bit like Sam Wolverton has gone on multiple podcasts and boasted, I turned down double the money to sign for the Toulon Galacticos to stay at Cardiff. And you're like, what is wrong with you? Like, why did you make that
Why?
decision?
No, wait, you were playing in the Pro 12.
So yeah, well done, Edinburgh. Bit of a meaningless game anyway. It will be a bit of fun. Where shall we go next? Don't want to talk about that one. Don't want to talk about that one. All right, okay. Let's talk about the business like Bulls. So, business class Bulls. What class do you think that the Bulls fly when they fly, Mohammed? Or isn't there an agreement now that all the South Africans have to fly business class? Oh, I can't hear you. You're not on mute. Something's gone wrong. Jiggle a plug.
And back in. Try that. How about now?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so I spoke to some professional players in the South African setup, multiple teams earlier this season, just to confirm the reports or whatever, and they said that yeah, the team who's going to play the first team, the first 15, they fly business class, and then the people on the bench fly sort of premium economy, and then everybody else out in coach. So yeah, the Bulls deservedly for this performance, they deserve to fly first class. This was this is the type of performance I want to see South African teams do when they go overseas, and it's only the Bulls who do it consistently. They're there to do a job. It's not too flashy. You bash them up front, keep it close in the first half, and in the second half, you once you sort of tire them out, then you turn on the afterburners, and then you give it to your very, very talented. Even though they rotated their backline, they were missing a couple of really key backline players, and they still put what 6, 7 tries on a good Dragons team. And yeah, look, the Bulls managed this game well. They didn't get ahead of themselves. They played the conditions. The crowd was like on them in this game as well. The lights, the floodlights seem to work and not work. And I know people who work in that type of environment, so it's funny for me to see as well. It was weird that Andre Pollard was taking a kick, and then the one light suddenly sort of switched on, and then as he took the kick, and so he missed the kick, so Andre Pollard could blame it on that. But yeah, look, the Bulls are like. I feel like the Bulls, yes, the Stormers are the highest in the lot, but the Bulls are the best looking team in South Africa right now in terms of the run-in. And then I'd have the Lions and then the Stormers, and then obviously the Sharks are just irrelevant at this point, but we'll get to that later. But I like the way the Bulls didn't even have entirely, you never have your entire first team on paper, and the game's not played on paper. Walker Lowe is flying over. Unfortunately, he did lose his dad, like Ethan Hooker lost his dad, so he wasn't in this game. But so condolences to him and his family. But he did fly over, and he was in the stands for this game, so he is going to be in the mix for the next game. So yeah, the Bulls, like standout players, I mean, Kanan
Francois
Moody.
Klopper caught my eye.
Yeah, exactly. Look, that's the one thing I keep wanted to mention this week as well. A lot of South African teams have good scrums, right? But they have one good front row, one scrum you to death front row, and then they have one sort of like hold your own scrum front row. The Bulls have underrated, sort of less heralded, not Springbok front row players, right? But the Bulls can run out because of their front row depth and how good their front row is. I would say they have about 2.5 scrum you to death front row. So when the people who start, like in the Sharks game, the guys who start are more like the hold the line front row, and then the guys who came on and would like make Ospreys lie about the front row getting injured. Whereas the Bulls, both their front rows will kill you. So that's very impressive, and that also speaks to their recruitment long term, because they're not buying ready-made Springboks like the guys down in Durban. No, they're getting really highly rated schoolboy rugby players and varsity cup rugby players, and then they're molding them into scrum you to death guys. So very well done from the Bulls. Yeah, I'm thinking like they've got these 2 away games, and then they got home games. They might even win their next away game. They might win the last 4 games of the season in the round robin.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
It's the there's some big hits and go. This is when we say like the business like Bulls. This was like very like getting down to business and things. I rate the Bulls picking just their best team every week at the moment. None of this mucking around with your mind games and player wrestling and stuff. Who's the best players? Get them on the pitch, and it's getting the results. And you can say like, oh, it wasn't the strongest Dragons team, and it's only the Dragons, or whatever you'd like to say. You know, the Dragons did score one very, very nice first phase try, which we're going to see the full replay of in a second. But like the Stormers barely beat the Dragons at home, and now the Bulls have gone away to the Dragons and put 40 on them. It's just impressive. It's the kind of performance that you want to see from a title challenging team. Like Leinster didn't put 40 on the Dragons. I can't remember exactly how the Glasgow game went. But this is, like, just repeating myself again, the business like Bulls.
And it's not even the it's not even their first choice center pairing. It's not their first choice wings. It's not their first choice fullback. Okay, what Canan Moody's on the wing, and he's constantly shifting between wing and outside center for different games. But he's playing really really well. Hanekom's come back from injury, and he looks like he could go into the Springbok team. And obviously, Imbros Papier had a fantastic game again. Imbros Papier, it's not really massive for South African teams to have like a bunch of guys like desperately like people going like because the Springbok team will have a 50 player training camp, and there'll still be players outside of the training camp going like Imbers Papier and obviously Jono, Trogisa Gastes, so on and so forth. So yeah. Also, what was interesting is that in the commentary they said that like this part of Wales where Rodney Parade is also called Gwent, and if anybody mentions Gwent, I always think of like the very very good Witcher 3 game. So like shout out to everybody who played that game. Oh, c'est
Yeah.
magnifique.
It's also called Dave Parade, but that's an extremely British joke that I don't think anybody else would get. Um, the yeah, there's not much to say from a Dragons point of view, unfortunately. Sorry, Dragons. You did get thumped quite a bit. I mean, you're missing a lot of players. Like it cuts to a load of Wales internationals on the sidelines and things. But you know, this is probably up there with you. I mean, there was the Benetton loss in the Challenge Cup. But yeah, not a day to remember. But the Bulls just motor on, and we'll talk about where we think they're going to end up on the log at the end of the show. Let's stick about in Italy for now. Benetton versus Munster. You know what, Adam? Oh, again, we'll come and talk about it at the end. But Munster aren't. You forget that Munster are still competing to get as high up the table as possible, and you kind of thought, you know, is Benetton's head just going to drop now that their season's officially over? And this is right what Munster needed. Right what Munster
Yeah,
needed.
100%. I think this is what that Treviso performance was really poor. That's what really struck me. I thought that, the Munster team that they put out as well, when we flick through it, yeah, that's probably their strongest team. They're missing a couple of people as well, but I must say that there's like Munster looks clinical, and I think that's what we
It's
were
a
missing
bloody
from
good back
them.
five to the pack.
It
Klein,
is.
Byrne, Ahern, Hodnett, and Coombs. That's a good.
It's a very good. It's a very, and do you know what as well? Like I thought that Jack Crowley played a really good game. Alex Nankivell is another played a really good game as well. I thought he was exceptional.
Mind you,
Uh,
on paper, Benetton's one of like Rootser, Negri, Lamoureux, and Canoni. That's good as well.
well, yeah, and then you look at their back line and they've got like their center. Like this is when I call out my fraud watch. Michael no, Fekitoa is not great anymore, and it's really weird to see because you would think that him and Menicello would work really well. However, it didn't. You had Alex Nankivell basically commanding the defense and in the attack as well through those in those channels. I thought Jack Crowley had a really good game as well. It's been a really interesting like last couple of weeks for Munster because they almost have sort of like we're not going to get into all the other stuff that's happening off the pitch, but I feel like they've had some type of like identity crisis where they were really struggling to find form, but also they're really struggling because they had, we said all throughout this season, our Munster a team that don't perform without the likes of Casey or Crowley, and then Crowley was gone, and Crowley was playing, and Casey was playing, and they were still getting losses. However, this is the type of game that they need. I think this game has came at like a perfect spot. Ironically enough, probably we're going to talk about it later, not for Ulster's sake, coming into next week, but I thought Munster had that attacking edge, that flair that, we can say all we want about like this Treviso team didn't play very well, but not many teams, I'd say in the last couple of years, can go out to Treviso and score 45 points. It was one of those games where I think, a lot of people wrote Munster off, but Munster played well. Like there's another Nankivell moment. I noticed as well how Treviso basically don't defend their wings, and Munster were
Well, there's a
really, really
doggo
good.
there, very much not on the wing. And
Yeah,
there's a man running in on the wing, very much against nobody.
yeah, that was Umaga. Like I thought, I did think like when I was looking at it, I did think like most of the tries came from that sort of skip pass in the middle, and Munster got it so spot on every single time out in those wings. But you would think as like if you're a coach from Treviso, you'd look at it and going, well, we need to cover those. Why are you not marking your man? Why are you cutting in? But there was like multiple of those moments where I thought that, yeah, Munster, we can say this. It's something that I say all the time. You can only play what's in front of you. And I feel like 45 points in Italy is what they, like, at this moment in time, after they've been knocked out of the Challenge Cup, is what they need to help with that top eight finish. And I think that it's getting so good at the minute, and all the results are either going well or not well, depending on who you're focusing on. But this Munster performance certainly sends a statement out to the league in that sense that, as you said, Hugh, they're still Munster. They're still a very good team.
Mm, I think for this is kind of a thing that Benetton have got a bit of a habit of doing is that they'll just not turn up for a game completely, like 4 or 5 times a season, and just drop an absolute stinker. They did it against the Ospreys last season, and I think when Wayne Pivac arrives next season, Reece Patcher will be the attack coach, which is so wholesome. And that'll be like number one in the agenda for him is to cut that out.
Yeah, like Munster had 2 yellow cards within 3 minutes, and Treviso did nothing with that. They were playing against 13 men, and it was still sort of like one-dimensional. Like, at least when I think about it, Reece Pritchell as an attack coach, I can imagine him actually doing quite well in that sort of setup. It's like sort of that blank slate because there is no setup, there is no form. You've got one of the best centers in the world, Cello, and he did relatively nothing. You've got the well, granted he's not going to be there next year, but Chorizo I think are going to rue the day the fact that they're losing Menoncello, and I personally don't think like their backline is pretty good, as well, but I think they're going to rue the day that they've lose out on Menoncello and not be a dominant force in that backline sense because that was like I think Munster's backline did particularly well to really silence them, but 13 men towards the end of the game, there's a lot of tired bodies out there, and you weren't scoring in those couple like 7 or so minutes when there was 13 men. That's really, really, really poor.
Absolutely. Coming on now to the final game, Ospreys versus Sharks. So I predicted last week, and you can check the tape if you don't believe me, I predicted an Ospreys win. The Sharks haven't toured well this season, and the Ospreys have a way of just grinding out wins at the brewery field, the electric brewery field, to just like unflashy, slightly dull wins of 21 points to 17 is just this exactly what I would have predicted for this game. To be honest, Dan Edwards obviously getting on the scorecard early, not masses of scoring. As you can see, they got their last points in the 55th minute and kind of hung on from there. I don't know. Mohammed, your views as a Sharks fan?
Yeah, this was very annoying. Look, this is the best team the Sharks can put out because of all the injuries. So, like the Bulls, I mean, there's nothing to play for. So all the teams are just putting out their best teams, those who are not in the EPCR tournaments. So all the South African teams. So because of the injuries, they went there. They had a sort of a tight first half. There was some sort of annoying aspects. As you guys know, I temper my critique of the referee, and I keep it sort of above board and stuff like that. But it's like, was there a TMO in this game? The Sharks got a breakaway try. Ethan Hooker like stripped away from everybody, scored the try, but then the Ospreys player Morgan sort of jumped on top of him as he was scoring the try. Ethan Hooker's now out for an indefinite amount of time, and we lost him for the second half. We could have gone on to win this game. Like I said earlier, we have a keep it tight front row, which we started, and then when we brought on the kill you front row, the Ospreys conveniently had to have uncontested scrums because everybody got hurt apparently. Again, the referees were kind of confused if the Ospreys are supposed to go down to 13 or 14 and who can come on and who can't. So that was a massive delay in the game. Yes, the clock was stopped, but that was also happening. There was 2 Dan Kasende like upright tackles. As much as I like Dan Kasende, by the way, this Ospreys team is basically the back in the day Cheetahs team. Just like in the previous game with Benetton and Munster, I noticed that there was 2 inside centers who used to play against each other in Super Rugby. So Ospreys giving the Cheetahs former players a new lease on life because there's 3 former Cheetah players in this Ospreys team. Shout out to them. Yeah, look, annoyed. Like I would have been fine if we lost the game, but like the manner in which we lost the game. Also, we like lost our heads, lots of unforced errors. Statistically, the Sharks are still kind of in the shot for eighth place, but it's like it was
Nope.
slim last week, but it's even slim now. So that means 3 games left. Can we beat Edinburgh next week? We'll get onto the predictions next week, I think, and then we'll definitely like what are we going to do with the last 2 games of the season against the Italian teams who also have nothing to play for? So look, annoyed, but yeah, the that's like contemporary philosopher Gennaro Gattuso says sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit, mostly shit.
Yeah, unfortunately. So that, well done, Ospreys. Unfortunately, I think they're still mathematically in it. I mean, if you're saying the Sharks are still in it, then the Ospreys are still in
Yeah,
it. But
on the same amount of points, yeah, man.
unfortunately, like the teams and like eighth and ninth are like in the best form in the league. So it just doesn't feel like it. And the Ospreys have got to go away to Leinster to like finish the season and stuff. So yeah. Quickly, Women's Six Nations check in because that is on at the moment. I mean, Ethan, not much to write home about for the Scotland women. Probably best to move on from that.
Yep. I mean, what was it? 82 to 7?
84, sorry.
85. Which,
Yeah.
when going into it, obviously you're just kind of like, yeah, it's England, let's try and do as well as we can. Yeah. And I was hoping for maybe under 50 because it was a similar scoreline, I think, 2 years ago. And I mean, granted, new coach and stuff, so he kind of is a bit of a write-off. But yeah, I mean, I didn't see it because Glasgow's on at the same time, and weirdly, two pubs next to each other. One was showing one game and the other one showed the other. Is it why not show both? But yeah, from what I've heard, it wasn't a great Scotland performance, that they were quite passive and just doing everything wrong.
Yeah, they were very passive. There were two types of tackle in this game from Scotland. There was passive and missed. And yeah, the Red Roses had ruck speed of less than 2 seconds on average at one point because there was just nothing stopping them. So yeah, we'll best move on from that. Adam, what a performance from Ireland, though.
Very good performance from Ireland. I think it's really good to see the likes of Parsons getting a hat trick. Incredible player. I think it was a really nice day in Galway as well. Really nice, really nice running rugby was played. Which you can't really normally say about Galway, but that Dexcom Stadium looked incredible for the setup for it as well. I thought it was a really good win, especially given last week's loss. We still need to prove ourselves as well. I thought that as I said, Parsons hat-trick, brilliant. Um, nine tries is nothing to be sniffed at as well. I think it was
Kind
a
of
really
tries they were as well.
yeah, they're really entertaining. Like I think our attack was so well placed as well. I think like part of me thinks that last week was a blip, as we said, like it's England. We saw what they did to Scotland this week, but 34 wins in a row. But it doesn't prove that Ireland aren't a great team. We're fifth in the world at the minute. We're playing some really nice attacking rugby. There's some real flair to us as well. I do feel like it's going to be a really interesting game next week when we go to Clermont to face France. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be
That's
very interesting. It's
that's
going to
a game
be
to tune in for.
headline type. But
Clermont are doing very well in the women's league in France, just in case anyone was interested.
oh, very nice. I feel like when we seen like this Ireland performance is really going to catapult us on to that game in Clermont. Especially because I think that we last week it yes was a loss, but we took a lot of positives from it, and with those positives, we created some really nice attacking flair to our game, and it shows us well for next week. And as I said, like I probably have us down for like 3 point winners next week.
Yeah, you definitely got to tune in and watch it. I think I'm going to miss it because I'm actually at Wales versus England. Speaking of Wales, competitive first half against France, 7-all at halftime. Should have been in the lead really because we had a 2-player advantage for quite a lot of the time in the first half, but didn't score during that period, and that's really disappointing. And then France's athleticism just kind of caught up with us. It's a bit different to on like going off the scoreline. You'd say that France have had 2 games pretty much the same against Italy and Wales, but like against Italy, France left about 4 or 5 tries out on the pitch that it just blew. I don't think it was the same against Wales. I think that they had to be clinical when they took their chances, and it was improvement from Wales. But just we need to see more from the attack. I think losing Karis Cox and Lisa Neumann cost us a lot of pace in the back line. And yeah, we're just kind of back to the days where the top try scorer for Wales is going to be penalty, I think, which is very frustrating. So anyway, so that's the women's Six Nations checked in with. We're going to keep an eye on that. You make sure that you tune in to the Women's Rugby Treehouse on this channel for a full in-depth podcast. And you can also find on Rap on our sister channel an in-depth chat on Wales women, and then also on the Interpro show they're going to be talking about Ireland women in depth as well, and we'll touch on France women on the Top 14 Digest. So there's lots and lots of women's rugby chats to be had on the Global Game Line, so stick around all week depending on which team that you would most like to hear about. All right then, lads, let's have a quick look at the log, the URC log. So it's fascinating. 4 points separates first to third. And I don't know what order those teams are going to finish in right now. And in fact, if I'm honest with you, I'm not even sure that the Stormers are definitely going to finish in the top 3 at the moment. What do we think?
It's in, like, I know that we say this a lot and I know that we have bias, but this is the best league in the world. I think by how close everything is and how, like, considering last year it was similar, but not so much towards the top. But this year we now have the added influence of the top as well. With the Stormers playing against us, like well, for Ulster's sake, I think that top 4 we're playing every single one of them. Well, by the Lions, which is terrifying. But I'm sure we want
Stormers are playing all top 8 teams in the last 3 games, and 2 of them away.
Like, as an Ulster fan, like, I feel like we need to see a Stormers or a Lions drop off, because I don't feel like Glasgow or Leinster are stopping anytime soon. I feel like when we look at this table here, and I think that, as you say, like, I think Stormers and the Lions are the only ones that I think that could fall off heavily. In that
I don't
top
know.
4.
I think Ulster are perilous. I think that that Leinster result might make you think all in on Challenge Cup, maybe.
Well, I would be all right with that in a sense, but I think that we've got no props left. I think we've got like 0 props to pick from. So, I would say to go all in the Challenge Cup. I think Munster have a chance to beat us on the weekend and then go above us, but I don't think that we're going to drop out of top 8 necessarily. I feel like we need to stay in that top 8 position. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, like, the likes of, if Cardiff can stay up, are the Bulls going to stay up? Are Connacht going to get in? Because I would feel, probably as a Connacht fan, pretty hard done by if I don't get top 8 the form that they're getting in at the minute.
I would
Who are
have
they
been
going to overtake? Go ahead, Mohammed.
I would have been more optimistic about the Stormers if they had won this weekend's game, because then I still sort of pick them slightly to beat Glasgow. Especially, we're gonna have to see on Friday what team Glasgow put out. So tune into the Bit of an Animal Friday show. We go on Mondays and Fridays now. But since they lost this game, that Ulster game away in Ireland's gonna be tough. Yes, Ulster don't have props, but still, I think it's gonna be a tough game. I think Ulster, but Stormers are playing Ulster maybe at the right time, so there's that aspect. Glasgow, like I said, I'm not sure if they'll win in Cape Town this week. We never know. Maybe they rotate their team, but then it's going to be annoying for me to see if Leinster top the log. It's going to be annoying because it's like the same old, same old. They're like I said, they're like Darth Vader. They just keep. We do a lot of Star Wars references on this podcast. They just keep just like an unstoppable force. So that can be somewhat boring at times. I hope the Bulls make the top 4 somehow, because I mean they're in fantastic form. And as much as I hope the Lions do well, the Lions got a tough run in.
The thing that helps the Bulls is they're the top try scorers in the league, 65, and their points difference is 97, which is better than all but Glasgow, Stormers, and Ulster.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot better than Leinster's, for example. So that's going to help the Bulls. And I think that, I might as well just say it now, I think we are hurtling uncontrollably towards another Leinster versus Bulls final. as we stand now, because I think that the Bulls are the strongest South African team. And I think Glasgow are going to run out of puff. And Leinster are just starting to upturn at the right time for once, rather than upturning at the wrong time. Think about the Lions. If we talk about the Lions, because Lions fans are probably like, hey, what about us? I'll believe
All
it when
three
I
of them.
see the Lions win a game in the Northern Hemisphere. So all of the games that the Lions have won this season have been in South Africa.
Mhm.
So if they go away to, for example, if they were to go away to Munster in the last game and win there, then I'll respectfully take them seriously. But at this moment, I'm like,
Yeah.
cool.
And
You're not going
Ulster
to get
from a
past
new
the semi-final. If they get to a semi-final, it's amazing, by the way, for the Lions. But they're not going to. I'm not going to get hyped about them until I've seen them play well in the North.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for the Lions if they get a away last eight fixture. If they get a home last eight fixture, anything could happen. I was actually kind of rooting for Ulster, and so it's sad that they're losing so many front row forwards, and we'll see how that affects them. And on top of it, they're competing in two tournaments because Ulster have over the last year or year and a half become like my favorite Irish team. The thing is that from a South African perspective, we only knew about Munster because our view into because the SuperSport didn't have like Northern Hemisphere rugby, they did and they didn't, so on and off. So our view into Northern Hemisphere rugby, because we were playing Super Rugby at the time, was through mostly magazines like SA Rugby Mag and stuff like that. And then guys, high-profile guys like Jean de Villiers would go to a play at Munster, and then we'd get all these articles about the fact that sort of Munster train at different places. So we had insight into Munster, and like Ronan O'Gara is like a somebody that like a high people know him in South Africa, that type of thing, because he played for Ireland. But Ulster have sort of become the now that we know all the teams, we don't really want to like back Leinster because that's like backing Man City while they win and stuff like that. So Ulster are more like the plucky underdog, and so a lot of people are supporting them. And besides, like Munster's off-field stuff these days is sort of annoying me, like hiring a coach who really should be coaching at Montpellier.
Yeah. Well put. Cardiff as well. Cardiff are clinging on. Cardiff have got two shots at it for me because Cardiff have got Ospreys at home, which, they've obviously on paper got a great chance of winning, but it's a fixture they've got a honking history in. Like the Ospreys normally do one over Cardiff. And then Stormers at home. Now, some Stormers fans might be thinking, oh yeah, we'll walk that over. Nah, I'm not sure. I think that'll be a game. I think I couldn't call it right now. I think probably the Stormers are just favourites, but I don't think it's a given by any means. So Cardiff are going to have two shots at it. I think one more win, a 5-pointer, and then picking up a couple of bonus points here and there will be enough to just keep them out of Connacht's grasp, maybe, but it is very much the case of squeaky bum time, 100%. I mean, let's have a look at the points difference. Cardiff's points difference is -5, the only team in the top 9 with a negative points difference. And Connacht are on 19. So, look, it's okay. So let's use this as a jumping off point now to talk about predictions for next week, because there are some finals to be played. So, like I said, Cardiff versus Ospreys is kind of the one that's massive for them. This is kind of the one to alleviate a bit of pressure if they can win this. I don't know. The vibes are just with the Ospreys at the moment for me. I think Cardiff were pretty poor against the Scarlets. It does feel like they're clinging on a bit, and the Ospreys are just having a nice time. So I'm kind of going towards the Ospreys on that one. Edinburgh versus Sharks. Who wants to watch that? Exactly. Who wants to spend their free time watching that?
I'll watch it because I was very negative or pessimistic about the Sharks earlier. But what I should also maybe have balanced it out by saying is that Siaya started in this game and he's 18 and he played relatively well for an 18-year-old at fullback. And the Sharks over the course of the season, which has just been a complete waste of a season, we did give debuts to an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 20-year-old, and they all played really well. So that is Siaya, Jaco Williams, and Luan Chilemia, and we still got Vusi Moyo coming through. So hopefully we get a win, but like legitimately, this is sort of like two teams with not much to play for.
Yeah. Zebra versus Dragons, the big game of the week.
So excited.
Oh, this is the one. I mean, it's
After
a
the
rematch.
Challenge Cup.
It's a grudge match.
Yeah.
I think I'm actually going to tune in and watch this one. Zebra versus Dragons. I think I would like Zebra because I would like Zebra. I'll tell you what, both of these teams are only on 2 wins in the league. which you wouldn't believe because you think the Dragons are better because of the Challenge Cup, but they've only actually won two games in the league.
It's the three draws. I think it's going to be a fourth draw. I think it's going to be absolutely outrageous from Newport, and it's going to be a fourth draw. What's the record for draws in the league? Because three draws is mental.
I don't know, but let's say if they get a fourth one,
They're
it will
the
be
all time.
it will be an all-time record. And then that's the Saturday night games. Going on to that's the Friday night games. Apologies. Then going on to the Saturday, Stormers versus Glasgow, second versus first. The big game of the weekend is a headline. Either it's one of those games where it's a headline either way, no matter what happens. It could be 3-3 and it'd be a headline. Are you going to be there, Mohammed? You going?
I'm hopefully going. It's a top of the table clash. Stormers better win this game, no matter who Glasgow run out. If they run out the same team from the Lions, they better win. If they draft in a bunch of other players that they rested for the Lions game, they better win this game. And if Damien Willems is on the wing again, the knives are going to be out because Stormer supporters, there are a lot of them. They fill the stadium. They may not be online as much as some other teams, but on certain platforms, a lot of them are old, so they're on Facebook. No offense, but but
I relate. Welsh rugby relates. Welsh rugby relates.
But things are. If that team sheet comes out and Damien Willems is at 14, even before the game, like things are going to go bad. So hopefully Stormers win. Yeah, weather's going to be iffy as well. So yeah.
Go on, Ethan.
I mean, I'm expecting Glasgow to kind of bounce back because weirdly, I think we've actually got quite a decent record against the Stormers. The Lions, we've got a horrible record against because we've never won in Johannesburg. But last season we did win against the Stormers in Cape Town. And I think they are expecting George Horn and maybe one or two others to be back from injury, which would be quite a breath of fresh air for Glasgow. And yeah, I mean, it was the type of game last week that there's a lot that they could learn from and hopefully put into place from this week onwards because the games for Glasgow are only going to get harder. So I think Glasgow can pull it off, but within 7.
Two predictions for this game. The Stormers are going to destroy Glasgow at the scrum, and Glasgow are going to miss single-figure tackles. I think that the Stormers aren't going to be able to get through Glasgow's defence. That's my prediction. And then the game of the people.
Yeah.
Such a good round. Lions versus Connacht. Rugby will be the winner.
This hipster's choice.
In MMA, they call it the people's main event. Yeah.
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 I don't know. Lions.
Here's the thing about this game. Lions are definitely playing neither of these teams are in any other competition, right? Lions are definitely playing their best team. Connacht are definitely playing their best team. Like anybody who's sober after partying, tune into a bit of an animal where we give you a bit of on Monday, the Monday episode, not the Friday episode, where we give you a bit of insight into what the Connacht players were up to after the game. Yeah, so tomorrow night, we'll give you some insight there. But yeah, look, both teams playing their best teams, but Lions are at home. So obviously I hope the Lions win, but this Connacht team is really, really good and they don't have that many injuries and stuff. They don't even have Bandiyaki. So this is legitimately like it's like we said in the group chat, this is like a playoff game.
Yeah.
100%. If the Lions win this, they effectively knock Connacht out.
Which I think it's so harsh on Connacht because I fully think that Connacht can go and win this after this week. Like, I think a lot of the comments would say, like, oh, but you wrote Connacht off X amount of weeks ago.
Yeah,
but the beauty of this league is we did. But the beauty of this league is we can change our minds based on one game.
And Adam is wearing Connacht colors and everything.
Yeah, I had to wear something that that represented someone winning. But I can see Connacht winning, and then almost effectively in that sense, if Cardiff lose, that would in my head knock Cardiff out and put you like when Hugh you mentioned like what team can Connacht replace in that top 8? It could be Cardiff.
I think Cardiff is the most likely for sure.
Yeah. It feels like an old round 16 game that they used to have in the Pro. Was it Pro 14 where they had a round 16 game before all the quarterfinals, or was that a European playoff? It was Pro 14 European playoff. It feels like one of those.
Yep. And then Munster versus Ulster. This feels like both teams are going to be up for this. This feels like a all guns blazing, last one standing type situation.
Yeah, I do feel like it's been one of those games so that I do think that we're gonna send a heavily rotated team. The fact that we don't have any props, we might have to be looking for some people outside as well. You know, it's gonna be a case of the likes of Bell's injured. Um, Scotty Wilson's injured, O'Toole's in like that Monday medical report is not going to look good. The Ulster Independent Hospital is going to have a field day with their money that day. But yeah, it's one of those that I think that Munster will probably well they're going to have their full strength team out. I think Ulster are going to rotate. I think you're completely right, Hugh, and I think we're just going to go all guns blazing for the Challenge Cup, and if not, we'll play the Stormers in Glasgow with our full strength team. Whether what that's going to look like, I'm not sure with the injury list that we've already had, but I think Munster are probably more inclined to win this one than us, and I feel like we're gonna. I think if I was Richie Murphy, I would rotate because we've got a much more important game in Exeter the week after. Well, against Exeter the week after.
I think I agree. Scarlets versus Bulls. The Bulls have never won in Clonethley. 0-2.
Wow.
So, guaranteed 5-pointer for the Scarlets, basically. But no, seriously, business like Bulls, Mohammed, they got to just sign those documents.
Yeah, I think the Bulls are slight favorites. Scarlets don't have much to play for, so I want them to put in another professional performance. Look, anything can happen. It's URC. URC gives very much EPL vibes, like random shit happens. But yeah, look, Bulls slight favorites. The fact that Scarlets don't have anything to play for might mean they throw the ball around. That might play into the Bulls' hands because they play a more sort of structured game and more numbers and stuff. But yeah, I obviously really hope the Bulls win because I want to see them march up the table.
I hope the Scarlets win. And then Benetton versus Leinster. Any reason to believe that won't be a very comfortable 5-pointer for Leinster?
No, but I do feel like it's going to be a very interesting team selection for Leinster, given that they have Toulon the week after. I think it's one of those where you would look at it and almost see a classic rendition of what we used to call in Ireland the Reese Ruddock All Stars. Then he retired, and now it's the Max Deegan All Stars.
Yeah.
But now he doesn't even play for the Max Deegan All Stars, so I'm going to say it's the Scott Penny Pinchers. Anyway,
The Scott Penny Invitational 15.
yeah, the Scott Penny Invitational 15. Perfect. Yeah. But
Chucky.
I feel like it's going to be one of those that Leinster will win by 50 points, and they will have a rotated team again. We might see Enrico Owani play because they like playing All Blacks against Italian teams. Famously, Jordy Barrett was dropped the week before, like in a big game, and then played against Zebra.
They got
So
player
we
of the
know
match,
what-
and everybody was like,
Yeah.
Nice, well done. It's going to be interesting to see who gets picked at fly half because I do think this whole
not Charlie
Leinster-
Tector.
It probably will be Charlie Tector. It's one of those that I think that
Cian Frawley.
yeah, but Kieran Frawley, he's Leinster's 23, and when they lose him, it's going to be Tector who's going to be the new Frawley. They're going to dye his hair, and he's going to go off the Connacht within a year. But yeah, I'd say it's going to be 5 points for Leinster. I think this is going to be a relatively easy game given the Munster versus Treviso game. 5 points.
Yeah. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the show. We've managed to talk about literally everything. So that just leaves me to say thank you very much to Irish Adam, Scottish Ethan, and South African Mohammed.
Cheers, thank you.
Cheers.
I, for the sake of this podcast, have been Welsh Hugh. Enjoy your rugby, and I hope that everybody's team wins. Bye.